Welcome back to another episode of Becoming an Online Sales Queen. And today's episode was actually voted by you, which I love. I am totally here for it when you reach out to me and give me show ideas. Okay, so I actually invited multiple show ideas. So a few of our future episodes are voted by you as well. So listen out for yours. And the question that I got when I invited this on my Instagram stories, the question I got was, Rach, I've done a few 10K months. They're a little bit inconsistent, but they're getting there. And I know when I get to a consistent 10K month, I know I'm going to feel ready to go further. So what are the things that I need to be preparing for now to allow me to break through to 30K months? Okay, so I'm going to call this episode something like the shift from 10K to 30K months, just because I've got some notes here in front of me and I've planned it out on a piece of paper, and I've put a line down the middle and I've put down the left what are all the things that you would do to get to 10K months, and then on the right what are all the things that you would do differently or that you would maybe adapt or change to get to 30K. Okay, so if you're in a similar place, or maybe right now you're doing 5K a month and you're thinking, no, I know I'm capable of more, so I want to know what's ahead of me. Stay tuned, because the way I'm going to explain this, I am hoping, is going to give you a real sense of how you would prepare for it, even if you're not actually at this point right now. Okay, so I want to kick off by saying that if you are not at 10K months, I can remember 10K months feeling like the hardest thing in the world. I can remember feeling like I'm never going to get there. I've done it, but it's random, like I did it when I did a launch, but then I couldn't hold it. And even though I hit 10K, I wasn't holding any monthly recurring revenue, and it just felt hard. And I want to normalize that. I want to say that your 10K months will be the hardest financial goal that you will hit. And I know that might sound a bit weird, because you might think, well, you're going to talk about 30K months in a minute, and surely that's harder. The reality is that it isn't. It really isn't, because once you know how to hit 10K months, that is the hardest part of the journey done. I promise, okay? So let's get into it. So when you're getting to 10K months, you can hustle. Yeah, it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be overly systemized. You can hustle your way there. You can take messy action. I took lots of messy action, trust me. Yeah, it doesn't have to be like, I know you see people going, oh, become the CEO and, like be a leader and you're running a business now. But actually, to get to 10K months, it can be the messiest thing in the world. You could be selling a 5K offer to 2 clients. You could be selling a 2K offer to 5 clients. It could be that you're selling a 1K offer to 10 clients. All of those ways get you to 10K a month. Yeah, and obviously you've got to think about how much of your sales come in as payment plans and how much come in as pay in full. But roughly speaking, it's a 5K offer times by 2 clients, a 2K offer times by 5 clients, or a 1K offer times by 10 clients. Okay, so ask yourself, which would feel like the easiest? Which would feel like the simplest way to get there? If right now you aren't selling a high ticket offer of 5K, but you know that you're an expert, you know that you've got a 5K offer in you, maybe now is the time that you should start structuring and designing that offer, because selling 2 clients a month is a lot easier than selling 10. Yeah. But what you have to do is know that you've got the offer to command that price tag. Okay. So think about your offer, but it can be messy and it can be through hustling. It can be. And I guess for a lot of you, and it was for me as well, I was spending more time on Instagram. I was spending more time in the DMs. I was spending more time instigating conversation. Yeah, I was in my DMs daily. I was doing daily stories. I had a goal for sales calls. My goal for sales calls was 20 a month. Yeah, I wanted to do 20 a month, 5 a week, knowing that if I did 20 calls a month, I would convert 50% of them. Okay, so maybe that's a guideline for you. If you do want to make 10 sales a month and you are happy right now to get on sales calls with as many of your audience as want to book them, then 20 sales calls a month would be a good goal. Because I knew back then that if I got somebody onto a call, that we would create connection, that we would create relationship, trust would build, and I would find them the right offer for them. And sometimes I would even bespoke build offers based on what they told me. Okay. But to get to 10K months in the simplest way, here's what I recommend: one offer, one ideal client, one clear message, one brand stance. Yeah. One thing that you want to be known for, one platform, even. Yeah. Now, your offer, that could be a group, could be one-on-one. Ideally, I'd make it as high ticket as you can, but you really want to get to 10K months, be focusing on one clear offer. And it could be one clear offer and a lead magnet. Yeah. But one clear paid for offer that is as high a price as you can go. Okay. You don't need team to get to 10K months. You don't need ads. You don't need a funnel. You don't need fancy systems. You need clarity. Yeah, clarity of your offer, which will then give you clarity of message, which will then draw in that ideal client on that platform of choice. Okay. So I know there's a lot of, there is, God, who is it that talks about it now? There's somebody, I think it's a guy, a guru, like man coach, not Tony Robbins, can't think who it is, who talks about the power of 5 ones. Yeah, it's just, and what I'm saying is similar to that. If I could go back and do my time again, I would have one offer. I wouldn't have multiple offers. One offer, one ideal client, one message, one brand stance, one platform. Okay, that's how to get to 10K months. Don't stress yourself out thinking about ads. Don't think about team. Yeah, if you wanted to hire somebody before you get to 10K months, hire a good VA to support you with things like bookkeeping, receipts, like VA weekly tasks, things to keep you focused on sales activity. Yeah, but you don't have to hire a team. It's not like you won't get to 10K months unless you have a VA. And you definitely don't need a social media manager to get you to 10K months. Because I would always say, do not hire a social media manager before you know how to sign your own clients. Okay, so that's the 10K month column. And then if we go over to the 30K month column, again, you want to be doing that little sum that I did, like let's say again that you had a 5K offer. So even if you had that higher ticket 5K offer, you still need 6 sales a month paid in full to get you to 30K a month. Yeah, still 6 sales. Or you need 30 sales that have got a £1,000 a month payment plan. Yeah, now we're talking. Now we're looking at a scalable offer, scalable group, scalable one-on-one, scalable membership. If you had 30 people paying you £1,000 a month, or it could be 60 people paying you £500 a month, you'd get to 30K. Now, what that means is that you need to be selling an offer that is high priced enough and long-term enough to warrant payment plans. And my recommendation would be that those payment plans are over 6 months or longer. Okay, so that's, if I was going to go back and start all over again and I was going to get to 30K months as fast as I could, that would be what I would do. I would sell a very high ticket offer to limit the overall number of sales. I would offer a payment plan for 6 months of enrollment so that I could spread it out, help my clients to say yes because it's spread out, and then I would stack those payment plans. Okay. Now, how many offers? So I said for the 10K month, you have one offer. To get to 30K months, I would actually recommend 2 or 3 offers. I would recommend that you have the high ticket group or one-on-one, that you have a mid-ticket group, sprint, or one-on-one. I sometimes call that a springboard offer because once people have been in that offer with you, that springboards them up into the high ticket offer. And then I would also recommend what I'm going to call a self-liquidating offer, SLO. And what this is an offer that's, I've got some that are £17, £27, 33 and 47, yeah, in price. And an SLO, a self-liquidating offer, is a low ticket offer that you do paid ads, like to get traffic, but those ads end up being free because the cost of the offer liquidates the ad spend. Yeah. So for example, if your SLO offer is £27, you can afford to spend £27 a day on ads as long as you're making one sale a day. So it's breaking even. Yeah, that's what I mean by self-liquidating. It's breaking even. Now, how does that turn into 30K months? You might be thinking, okay, Rach, I got it for the 10K bit, but now you're talking about 30K and you're telling me to sell a £27 offer? That doesn't make sense. Well, it does when you stack those sales on top of each other. Because the way it works in my business and the way I would recommend that you get to 30K is you have your, for example, £27 SLO. You have an order bump on that bumps that cart value, that bumps the price that the overall spend of the person that jumps into that £27 offer. If your bump was, let's say your bump was £23, just let's make it easy. Your bump was £23. So at the checkout, you were saying, you're going to buy this £27 thing. This is great. But how about you add this for 23? Now your cart value is 50 quid. Okay. And you could still add an upsell onto that. So you could have an upsell for another 50 quid and now your cart value is £100. So your front end sale is £100 and there's a percentage of your audience that will do that. And there's a percentage that will only buy the 27. Okay. And then what happens is once they're inside that SLO offer, you invite them into the mid-point offer, the mid-ticket offer, which could be, let's just say it's a 30-day sprint for $497, for example. So they're like, love the £27 offer, love what this woman's all about. She can definitely help me. And look, she does this 30-day sprint. It's $497. I'm in. Let's go. Love the quality of her work. Love the way she teaches. I want to do the sprint. They then go through that 30-day sprint and get to the end, and they are completely and utterly sold on the idea of joining your high ticket group, your mastermind, whatever that is. Okay. And that is how you stack 3 offers on top of each other, making the £27 offer do the hard work because it's bringing in, it's converting the brand new client, and then the other offers are stacked up behind it. Okay. Now you could even layer on more sales than that, which you see me doing online, is that you could then do a 3-day online challenge, for example, a 2-day online workshop, and you could sell the 5K offer at the end of that free experience and then downsell anybody that says, no, I'm not ready for that, downsell them to the 497 sprint. So you've got an ascension ladder, from 27 to 47 to 5K. And you've also got a launch with a downsell through the offers. Now that would be your fastest way to get to 30K months without behaving like you used to behave when you were building to 10. And this is the ultimate point I want to make. If you try to get to 30K months doing what you did to get to 10, you won't get there, or you'll get there, but you will be exhausted. You will be burnt out. Yeah. So the best way to get to 30K months, sell high ticket, build a funnel, master your customer journey, master the buyer psychology, get friction-free systems, use scaling and automation, and focus on your monthly recurring revenue. Okay. Now I'm going to be running something very soon where I'm going to teach this in a much more detailed way. It's called the Freedom Money Sales System. It's a 3-part workshop. And this is the really exciting bit. I'm building you a Freedom Money AI assistant to help you implement what I'm going to teach. Okay. So it's a 3-part workshop. Each day of the workshop, I'm going to give you some homework. I'm going to give you some steps to take. And I'm going to give you an AI assistant that I have programmed, I have trained with my funnel building knowledge, my scaling knowledge to support you with your homework. Okay. It's called the Freedom Money Sales System. I will drop the details below this episode. Go check it out. And if it feels like a fit, I will see you in there. But thank you so much for listening to this episode. I'd love to take any questions that you've got. If you want to drop into my Instagram DMs, I will gladly answer any questions that you have on scaling, or if you want some more information on the Freedom Money Sales System, again, just drop into my DMs and I'll be happy to help. If you know somebody that's building a funnel, you know somebody that wants to scale, please do share this episode with them. I'd love to get this out there to more and more women who are building a freedom money lifestyle. And I will see you, my darling, next week for another episode of the show.